Hello guys, and welcome to what I'm going to do as an easier version of the series I was doing last time. So last time I had a pretty hard time doing the series, as you can tell by the upload schedule, mostly because it was very hard to do this stuff by hand. So now, instead of the slideshow, I hate to say this, but I'm going to just put an image of the episode, like a photo from the episode on the screen as I talk over it. However though, I'll still give opinions in the style that I used to, and I'll still give an episode rating. However though, because I can't draw them up, I have to put it as a words on the screen. There are 3 rankings for the episodes though. First there's good, there's meh, and the dreaded
derailed episode.
Of course, it's time to start off. Season 1, Episode 1, Thomas and Gordon. Thomas keeps playing tricks on Gordon, which causes Gordon to retaliate at him, teaching Thomas a lesson. Aw, what episode to start with. This episode is a good episode. Man, this is so great. I just can't believe it. I just love how expressions are. I love the whole eye movement. It really does show off everything. So, I think, without question, at least in my opinion, I could definitely say for sure, this is a good episode. Season 1, Episode 2, Edward and Gordon. Edward proves himself to Gordon 2 times. However, though, Gordon barely shows thanks, as he thinks he's the better one. Man, oh man, I think I should just say it. I think it's pretty obvious, but I'm not going to. But man, I love this episode. This episode is amazing. I love how Edward and Gordon interact in the episode. I love how Edward's able to prove himself to Gordon 2 times, and Gordon doesn't even give him thanks. But so Top Hat gives him a lot of fanfare, and everything about the episode is told almost perfectly. It is told perfectly. You know, this is really a good episode. Season 1, Episode 3, The Sad Story of Henry. Henry, after refusing to come out because he's afraid his pain will be spoiled, gets locked up in the tunnel. And no, he's not going to die in there. He's not going to be left in there forever. Now, while I do think it is kind of rude to lock up people in a tunnel, and it's kind of the equivalent of, like, locking your child up in a closet or locking him up in their room, does not mean that, this is bad. First of all, he's a steam locomotive. Second of all, he was being stuck up. And third of all, he was not going to die, okay? As for the actual plot itself, well, I actually kind of enjoy it. It's actually pretty good. And I don't think he's going to die. So yeah, this is a good episode. Season 1, Episode 4, Edward, Gordon, and Henry. After Gordon breaks down, Edward and Henry both help Gordon with the express. Okay, I love to say it. Good episode. Didn't leave it there. Good episode. Season 1, Episode 5. Thomas's train. Thomas leaves a train behind. Yeah, it's pretty boring. Like, it's seriously boring. Like, what is the point? Meh episode. Meh. Season 1, Episode 7. Thomas and the Trucks. Thomas takes Edward's train, which causes him to almost have an accident. Honestly, when I first did this review, I gave it a good. But now, after thinking about it, I really don't want to say it, but I don't like this episode that much. Like, first of all, it's just kind of boring. And second of all, Thomas gets in trouble for no reason. You can say, well, maybe you shouldn't have taken the trucks. Well, yeah, but every kid does something like that. I guess he didn't learn his lesson, but really? It's not even his fault. And Edward gets no repercussions. Like, no. I hate to say it, but I'm going to have to give it.
Derailed episode.
Season 1, Episode 7. Thomas and the Breakdown Train. A new engine named James comes to Sordor, and Thomas rescues him after he crashes, giving him a new branch line. This is a good episode. I mean, yeah, I'm going to blatantly say it. I have to give this one a good episode. Season 1, Episode 8. James and the Coaches. First, James gets so Top Hat's top hat wet. Then he ends up breaking a coupling rod on the train, causing a man to have to use his bootlace. At first, I was going to give this episode a meh, but after looking over it, I think I'm going to have to give it a good episode. Season 1, Episode 8, Troublesome Trucks. James has to deal with some troublesome trucks, which end up breaking away from him. Yeah, the plot synopsis sounds boring, but it's actually pretty good. And I love James's redemption arc here. So yeah, it may be on the very lower edge of good, but I'm still gonna have to give this episode a good episode ranking. Season 1 episode 9. James takes the express. After Gordon has a little mishap, James takes the express. While there's not much to talk about here, there's nothing bad I really have to say about it either. And there's some things good about to say about it. The characters are all right here, and I love how James' redemption arc finishes. Episode, like last episode, the lower half of good, but still good. Season 1, episode 11. Thomas and the Gaurd. Thomas leaves the Gaurd behind. Yeah, just like Thomas and the trucks, this is boring. I mean, Thomas is trained, but at least in that episode, it was funny. Somewhat. But here, it's not funny. There's nothing good about this episode, really. Yeah, it's getting the dreaded
Derailed episode.
Season 1, episode 12. Thomas goes fishing. Thomas ingests some contaminated water. The plot alone probably would have gotten him there, but thanks to a certain joke, particularly James's line, and "Do I see fish?" This is a light, but still good episode. Season 1, episode 13. Thomas and Bertie. Thomas and Bertie have a race. I love the episode. Episode shows off the eyes feature again, which I like. It also shows off a great story, and I love the racing scenes. Good episode. Season 1, episode 15. Tenders and Turntables. Both Gordon and James have incidents with turntables, causing them to hate tank engines because the tank engines don't do their shunting work anymore. This episode's pretty good. I think it's great, not as good as other people say it is. I still think it's a really good episode. My favorite sequence is obviously James's sequence. First of all, I love when they use the eye expressions this season. They do it really well. And here they show off the eye expressions like to a T. So yeah, I think this is a very good episode. Season 1, episode 16. Trouble in the Shed. Gordon, James, and Henry go on strike, causing so Tom had to buy a new engine. I think Season 1's stride is the previous episode till about the Flying Kipper. These are the best episodes of the season, and some of the best of the classic series. I love this episode. I love how the characters are written, and I love how everything is set up, and I think it's pretty funny, and I think it's a good episode. Season 1, episode 17. Percy runs away. Percy runs away, crashing into a bank of earth. Yeah, that's the entire story. And I'm okay with simplistic stories in Thomas. And it's told well. And the sequences are good. So, it is very low on that scale. But because of what it does and how it does it, versus something like Thomas's Train, where it's just a snore fest, here it does it well. So I have to give this episode a good episode right now. Season 1, episode 18. Coal. Henry's coal goes bad because he's a poor steamer. This episode is amazing. This is not as good as Flying Kipper, but nothing as good as Flying Kipper. But this is a close second. I love this episode. It's so cool. You feel for Henry, you feel sympathetic for him. First, this guy who was just like this major a-hole who just kept doing stuff bad. He was being selfish, being kind of like a smug, guy. But now, he's someone that's sympathetic, tries to work hard, but just keeps failing out of something that's not even his fault. This is an amazing episode, a gold episode. Oh man, my favorite episode of the entire classic series. Season 1, episode 19, The Flying Kipper. Henry takes the Flying Kipper fish train after taking Welsh coal, which, however, though, he has a major accident which causes him to be rebuilt. Man, oh man, oh man, this is the best episode of the entire classic series, the best episode of the entirety of the show, all 24 seasons, including the pack season, best one ever. If I could give this one whatever I wanted to, I would definitely give it everything above good. This is not even a gold episode. This is way above that. See, this episode's so great. Let me just go share some more. First of all, the whole sequence of him, like the sequence in the harbor, Henry leaving, is done so realistically, done so seriously, done to make it feel like this is a massive locomotive. Then that crash. Man, oh man, that crash is done amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Everything about that crash is so good. The level of severity, so realistic. There's no stupid, joke like they made in the Railway series. Not even good, not even gold. This is a platinum episode. Season 1, Episode 20. Whistles and Sneezes. This episode is an amazing way to follow up the last episode. And I'm glad that this time they combined most stories together, because last time, at least in the Railway series, I understand why he put the 5 separate stories, because he really hated Terenernce, Toby, which I guess I can see why, but this dude, put 5 stories there so he could make fun of someone that worked for him. But otherwise, why were they separate stories? So I'm glad they combined them. The stories themselves, they're really fun and all. So overall, this is a pretty good episode. Season 1, Episode 21. Toby and the Stout Gentleman. Matt visits Toby's railway on one of its last days of operation. Man, this episode's emotional. Everything about it is so... It has a pull to it. The fact that the children call him electric, which sounds like a joke at first, and it kind of is, but how it alludes to how he's so out of date in a weird way. And I love how it sets up that these are two. Toby's a really old engine, Henry is a really old coach, and they're about to be gone forever. The last of them. So I'm glad the way that they handle this. I love the ending too. So yeah, overall, I say this is a pretty good episode. Season 1, Episode 22. Thomas in trouble. Thomas gets in trouble with a police officer, causing the top hat to bring Toby to disorder. Pretty good episode, the rest of the episodes of the season, except for one, I say are pretty good episodes. And this one's no exception. So yeah, 100% a good episode. 1, Episode 23. Dirty Objects. After James is rude to Toby for his dirty paintwork, James gets in an accident with tar wagons. I love the crash here. The crash has some pull to it, and it's pretty funny. In a weird way. And the crash is a huge spectacle. Season 1 doesn't have that many crashes, but the ones it does have are pretty good. So yeah, I consider this all around a pretty good episode. Season 1, Episode 24. Dirty Objects. Gordon refuses to pull a freight train. By doing so, tries to jam the turntable, which causes him to have a crash. Okay, first thing I have to say though is, why is the crash done the way it is here? What? Why does Gordon crash into some tracks into the ditch? Well, no wonder he crashed, because there's tracks leading to the ditch. Makes sense why he would crash. And so, it's not like in the Railway series where, he crashes through a fence and crashes onto some grass and breaks stuff and crashes into a pond. Instead, he stupidly crashes off the rails. Okay, but still, I still think this is a good episode. Season 1, Episode 25, Down the Mine. Thomas ends up crashing into a mine. I like this episode. And I'm glad this is the 25th episode, because it follows a sequential order of events as the stories happen. Unlike the previous episode, the crash is not neutered, and actually looks like how it did in the Railway series. I can give it that, and I think it's a good episode. The story is told well. So yeah, that's my ranking. Good episode. Finally, Season 1, Episode 26, Thomas's Christmas Party. Thomas and Toby rescue Mrs. Conley and then they get a Christmas party a year later. I mean, why didn't they just adapt Mrs. Conley's Christmas? Like, why didn't they? Why did they have to adapt this random story from 1985? So yeah, that's pretty obvious. I'm not too big a fan of this episode, but it's not done badly, so it's gonna be a meh, I guess. What a bummer way to end the season. The last episodes were pretty good, but this one, pretty boring. Crap, I found an episode. Season 1, Episode 14, Thomas, Terenernce in the Snow. Thomas and Terenernce have trouble with snow. Thomas makes fun of him. Yeah, pretty good story, pretty good thing. Yeah, good episode. That is every single episode of Thomas Season 1 reviewed. We have 22 good episodes. I'm lumping the Platinum and the Gold episode in there too. 2 derailed episodes and 2 meh episodes. So overall, yeah, the rankings are looking really good. Yeah, you might be surprised by how many mehs and deraileds there are, but those are relatively close to being good and mehs respectively. So yeah, I really don't have much to complain about here. Some of these good episodes are really good, especially the Flying Kipper and Cole. So yeah, overall, I think I'm gonna give this season a good season. Here's my top 5 episodes of Season 1. Number 5 is Dirty Objects. Number 4 is Thomas and the Breakdown Train. Number 3 is Down the Mine. Number 2 is Cole. And of course, number 1 is the Flying Kipper. My bottom 4 episodes. Number 4 is Thomas's Train. Number 3 is Thomas's Christmas Party. Number 2 is Thomas and the Gaurd. And number 1 is Thomas and the Trucks. Overall thoughts are, I really enjoyed this season. It's an amazing way to start off the show. The characters are all nice. Everything, I love how it shows off the shots and stuff like that, the eye movement. Really enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your day, night, evening, or whatever.